to see you all here, and then to look at this panel. These guys tonight to share and discuss and talk. It's just an amazing setting, a great opportunity, and we're really thankful that you're here. Hope it's a fantastic night, and again, welcome. Good to have you here, and I'm going to turn it over to Cliff. Take care, my friend.
We appreciate it.
Yep.
Give him a nice round of applause. Well, I want to echo some of the things that Kelly already said, but we want to thank Sweetwater, Matt, Josh, the whole team here that helped bring the Sweet Geek Speak forums together. We really appreciate that. And I also want to thank you for showing up and being in the audience. As I'm looking around, I see so many people from the CIO forums and so many other different things that I do. And I've met some new people also just passing out in the reception area there. And I want to let you know that we definitely will take questions throughout. We want it to be good for you. So I think the technical term is center. So we have mics placed at the center. We will have a little bit of a conversation, but if there's a question or anything else of that nature that you want to talk about or ask us about, by all means. Now, the main themes that we're going to be dealing with here this night is going to be leadership, innovation, and transformation. And so these are very technical themes, but they're on the other side, they're not technical at all. You don't have to necessarily be in IT to look at innovation and things of that nature. So hopefully this will be enjoyable for everybody that is here. And again, if there's something that you want to ask us, by all means, let us know. So this is a series, as I mentioned before, so just keep looking out. For those of you who found it through Facebook or whatever, just keep looking out. There'll be others, events of this nature that'll be coming down the pipe, so just keep an eye out for that. So with that, we're going to do a little bit of an introduction. Kelly did give me a little bit of an introduction, and we'll introduce my esteemed panel of experts here. These guys are reached top in their careers, in their respective companies. But to tell you a little bit about me, my name is Clifford Clark. I own a small consulting company called C2 IT Advisors. We do IT strategy. My background and history includes in the educational vertical with Ivy Tech, government with the city of Fort Wayne. I was the CIO for the city of Fort Wayne. Worked with Lincoln Financial. I have a couple of Lincoln friends out there too. It's all good. So that's a little bit about me. But basically, I want to be able to start to introduce our esteemed panel. And I'm going to let them do a self-introduction. One of our first questions that was actually submitted was, tell us a little bit about how did you get to where you're at. So we're going to have them give their names, starting off with Bob Francis at STI, but the names, obviously, if you don't know their role, they'll tell you that, the company that they're with, maybe a little bit about the company, and then also a little bit about their journey to their seat. So Bob, start us off.
So I'm Bob Francis. I'm the VP and the CIO for Steel Dynamics. I'm going to abbreviate my journey and start it with Steel Dynamics. So I was a consultant when Steel Dynamics was founded and consulted with them on the purchase of their first ERP system for their facility in Butler. Like the management team, so decided that I would actually spend time implementing that system with them. That would normally be an 8-month gig. I turned it into a 4-year gig by enhancing it and doing all the things that Steel Dynamics does to make their facilities efficient. Left the company for 2 years and went over to Thailand to commission a steel mill there. And a year after I was there, ran into some of the people that I worked with at Steel Dynamics who had been hired by that steel company to consult with them on how to bring up a steel mill. A year after that, I came back with that team to be the IT supervisor at the Butler facility. At that time, that was the only facility Steel Dynamics had. And then as the company grew and we built the mill in Columbia City, I moved from being the IT supervisor at the Butler facility to the IT manager for the company. And then as time went on and we got larger and larger, grew into the CIO role.
All right, well, let's welcome Bob. if we say a term that you guys don't understand, please let us know. But ERP is Enterprise Resource Planning Systems. And if anybody has ever done an ERP, turning a 18-month or 8-month into 4 years, that's easy to do, even if you don't do anything else. So that's all right. So next we have Mark Petrov, and Mark is at Aptera.
Mark Petrov. I'm Director of Operations at Aptera Software, downtown Fort Wayne. Aptera is a software development consultancy. I think we just celebrated our 17th birthday or so of the company. I've been at Aptera about 8 years. Had a couple different roles at Aptera. But prior to Aptera, my IT background was mostly in healthcare IT. Worked for a couple different companies that did practice management software, medical record software, and I did just kind of a combination of roles there, some business analysis. I did some development on some of the first health exchanges where medical record systems were trying to connect together with Indiana Health Exchange, Kentucky Health Exchange, and then Michiana Health Exchange, trying to get the medical record systems to be able to share data between various hospitals and physicians' offices and so on. So I did that for a number of years and then switched over to Aptera. I started at Aptera at a role that doesn't really exist anymore. We call it a project clarity specialist. It was kind of a combination of project management and business analysis. I did that for a couple of years, and then I ended up doing some on-site consulting for one of our clients here in town for about 2 years. After I came back from that, I was just kind of looking for something else. We had opened an office in Nashville, Tennessee for a time. I went down there and held a management position down there. Ended up moving back to Fort Wayne, and I've been in the director of operations role in Fort Wayne ever since then.
Great. Let's welcome Mark. And next up, we have John Murgy, and John is at Do It Best.
Thanks, Clifford. Good evening, everyone. John Murgy, VP of IT at Do It Best. And a little bit about my journey. So, Purdue graduate. I actually started as part of the software development team for the F-16 fighter in Texas. So that was an interesting gig as a developer, writing some code and jumping in a cockpit in a simulator to test code. So spent a lot of time testing code. So that was a lot of fun. A few roles there while I was in Texas. From there, I too went into healthcare. In my case, medical device manufacturing, and several roles at that company, working up to leading solution development for computer-aided design, computer-aided manufacturing, and also then leading e-business. If folks remember when e-business was a thing, like it was like business but with an E. So we did e-business at that point in time, and then from there coming over to Do It Best and leading project management, development, data and analytics, and leading to the role.
Great. Let's welcome John. All right, before I get too far into the conversation, I want to make sure I know who's in our audience. So if you are an IT leader, consider yourself an IT leader, show of hands so we can see. Oh, a lot. Very good. Okay. And let's say that you're in IT, but not necessarily in a leadership position. That's a show of hands. Wow. Okay. Very good. All right. So now this is the rest of you, right? So who would consider themselves non-IT whatsoever? Show of hands. Couple. There you go. That's good. That's good. There's a few. So you're not alone. You're good. All right. So we're going to have a conversation about 3 different components. Again, we're going to talk a little bit about transformation, innovation, and leadership. We'll start off with leadership, though, as we move through. And so many folks always want to know, give us the skinny on the pros and the cons of the things that went that you did well to get to leadership positions, or anything that you see out there, because you wouldn't have done it, but anything that you see out there that maybe some others have kind of tripped over. Anyone?
Sure, I'll jump Yeah, so maybe starting as far as kind of doing things well. I think that there can be, especially when you first take an IT leadership role, there can be some pressure depending on how you got that role, or just your own personal. Hey, I want to lead transformation in a company, and that's that can be a good goal, but that's a long-term goal. The first thing that I always feel that you need to do is actually understand, like, where does the company see value in your role, and how are you going to bring business value? And to just take a pause, take a breath when you first come into that role, and really understand what the business needs from you, what the landscape looks like, what has been done in the past, and then also take a chance to get to know your team and understand their goals. A lot of times, the things that need to change in an organization are really smaller. They're incremental changes that can make a big impact. It's not always necessary to come in and completely overhaul something in order to make a really positive change. And so, I think there can just be a lot of urgency sometimes when you take a leadership role to say, I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to jump in. My leadership is going to see that I made a difference. But what they really want to see is that you looked at things for the long term, and you looked at things, how we're going to transform things over time to make a much longer term better play.
John, you look like you're ready to chime in here. Do you want to add something?
Yeah, boy, I would echo all of that, and I think that's an early temptation maybe to be thinking about if you're thinking about that IT management position and working towards it, and if the thought is, if I can just get in there, I can set this stuff right. It's like, I know how to do it, and really what it's missing is just doing it right. And I think having an understanding of the context of what the business needs, but also what's the reputation of this team. How is this team perceived that I'm going to be leading? What work do I need to do right up front, even to get before I start into with any of it? So I would agree with all of that.
Great. Bob, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I'd echo everything there. I would say that I'm still on the journey of becoming an IT leader. When I stepped into the role of the IT manager position, I was what I've learned in the 15 years since I took that role is it's less about what I'm doing and more about what I'm enabling my teams to do, and finding what they need from me, challenging them to keep themselves educated, to keep an open mind, and try and develop them so that they can be as good or better. And a lot of them are actually now better than I am.
Yeah, it's interesting. When folks want to get to the leadership level, we always say that there's kind of a pathway to do that, right? And so most times you come in as an individual performer, right? And so your performance is important, right? So are you getting projects done? Are you getting them done on time? Are you meeting the needs of the people that your customers? And at some point you kind of transition, hopefully you're noticed for your performance, and you also get a chance to do something where you'll get, that you can be pulled through. In other words, you're looking the part, you have the right image exposure, and you have the right image, and then also the right exposure to various different things. And I always say, sometimes if you have a project that seemingly like is not good, your attitude also plays an important part. So these gentlemen here have already kind of suggested that you need to be focused on some of the business acumen also as another opportunity. And since you brought it up, talk a little bit about mentorship in getting to leadership roles or bringing somebody along. I know that wasn't one of our normal questions, but Bob, you kind of started in on the fact of not putting you on a spot, but what does mentorship or mean to each of you guys?
So I think mentorship and mentoring your team is probably the most important thing that you can do. If you've got a small team, you can direct and you can tell them what to do. But if you're going to be ultimately, if you're going to be successful, if you're going to have growth and your people are going to have growth, then really what you've got to do is teach them what you know, teach them what you're seeing from the business point of view and from your view, but also listen to them, right? Because a big part of mentoring is not only, hey, spitting out information, but listening and to what they think, what they need, and adjusting yourself to make sure that as you're mentoring them, you're course correcting yourself and not blinded by, I'm sitting in this position and therefore I know everything.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I would say I see mentoring kind of like an apprenticeship over time. I mean, what's been tried and true for many years, and coming alongside someone and giving them those experiences that you've had the opportunity of and how they apply to the work at hand. And so I would say in both directions, if one, find a mentor or mentors, and if you're in a position to mentor, do that. Folks need advocates, and that's a way to advocate for folks to bring them along. We were talking earlier about this kind of event, which is great for the community. There are other events like this. We're talking about Agile Fort Wayne and others, free for the community, folks investing of themselves to put this stuff on. It's easy to come to, and boy, take advantage of that. And so this is a kind of mentoring as well.
Good.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think definitely for those of you who don't have a mentor, that's something actually that I didn't necessarily have a named mentor until later in my career. I had to kind of seek that out. And I would say that I can't underestimate the impact that's made on me, being able to have someone to go to just bounce ideas off of, or say, hey, I'm thinking of this career move, or that, which one of these things, makes the most sense for me. And if they know you well enough, they can help you, come to those conclusions, and trying to seek those things out. And I think like John said, in this kind of a forum, there's likely a lot of people in here that are willing to be a mentor, and don't be afraid to seek that out. Don't be afraid to ask. I did, and it's been just invaluable to me.
Great. So I have an integration question. So it's going to cover a little bit on leadership, but it's also going to transition a little bit to innovation. And so, as you've already mentioned, mentorship is on one end of the story, but how do we see people in their early stages of their career coming along? So more specifically, particularly, I think we have some students from various different colleges or going to school right now, and they want to get to an IT position, right? And particularly with all of the requirements and innovations happening in IT, what advice would you give those students? What would you say, wide open, what would you say that they need to be doing? Maybe classes they need to be taking, anything that you want to talk on. What kind of advice would you give students at this point in the stage?
Maybe take a shot at it here. So a few months ago, I was part of another panel discussion at Purdue, senior student team there. And a lot of what we talked about was soft skill development. And I know that's, you talk about hard skills and the technology, which those skills have to be there. But I think a lot of times the soft skills are not given the weight that they really need to give. So I would be one piece of advice is spend time in those soft skills. Understand what is emotional intelligence, what is it, what is behavioral insight, how do I read other people, and so that I understand how to work with them. So I would spend time there. The technology, the skills in that space cycle in and out very quickly. And so be prepared to be a continual learner. And so, there's the whole growth mindset, fixed mindset, learn what that is and how to get to a growth mindset so I can be prepared to handle change. Because it's not going to be the case. I'm going to learn this language